Many salutations to viewers and coins of the vault alike. I am Tatsumari, the self-proclaimed keeper of Maple Story lore. There are many who do it, but I am the only one who does it like me. Ha 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 ha. So today is the day where you, lovely viewer and coin of the vault, get to have your short stories read live on stream. Yay! So, how this is going to work, being that we're on two different platforms, we are going to be doing just a slightly little bit different things on either one. For the YouTube audience, if you would like to have something read, you can type exclamation point and read my, I think it's reading. Let me see. I think that should be what it looks like. And in a second, it'll pop up in the chat saying that, "Yay, you have a story I want you to read." And for the Twitch audience, you should still be able to use the chat rewards. And okay, yeah. So for those of you who would like to use a reward, you should... Let me get over into the yard really quick. There we go. Oh, hold on. I forgot a thing is still going on at the moment. Okay, so for the Twitch audience, you should be able to use this for saying that you want to have something read.
Seems simple enough.
So, either way, you guys have either audience, you have a way of getting my attention that you want to have something read. So I'm still experimenting. Haven't fully figured this out yet. Also, somewhere along the way, I may end up having to delay a couple streams here and there because my computer is acting a little weird. So I may have to be down for a little while I either get some upgrades or do some stuff. It's time. Computer is telling it's time. So, with all of that said, I will be editing in the background while we're waiting for submissions. I will be editing MapleStory the novel Legends of Osyria. Actually, no, excuse me, not that. I'm actually going to be editing Chapter 7 of Guardians first, and then we're going to be moving on to Legends of Osyria. Just because brain is kind of frazzled and may not be doing very well. So, before we get too much further, let me go over some rules that I would like you guys to keep in mind before submitting something for reading. First and foremost, I know all of these are for the Twitch rules, but they also work for the YouTube rules. For the Twitch audience, you can use the excerpt reading for fun for 300 scales channel reward to make sure that your submission is put into a queue on my side, so that way I don't miss it. After redeeming the reward, be sure and send me a Google Docs share link or a site link of where it is in the chat, and I will get to it. And following will get you the needed 300 scales. Interesting. For the YouTube audience, like I said, put in an exclamation point reading, and it will bring up a little message in the chat telling me that you have something you want to be read. Rule 2, I will read roughly 1,000 words of your story. If it is way over that limit, I will highlight roughly 1,000 words in that thing. And don't worry if your submission is under 1,000 words, I will still read it. And as long as it's within 30 words of that 1,000-word limit, I will, I'm not going to really be too harsh with that. If your submission is longer and you wish to have it read, for the Twitch audience, please use the other channel rewards. Yes, they cost a little bit more in scales, but they come with some other goodies. If you do, for the YouTube audience, if you have something that is longer that you wish me to read, ask me about it and let me know. Rule 3. Please keep your submission around the PG-16 level in their content and within the TOS of Twitch and YouTube, because I don't want to get banned, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to ban me either. At least I hope so. Rule 4. Keep in mind that these readings are not an alpha or a beta read, nor are they an actual critique of the content. These readings are for fun and will be read as is, mistakes and all. Don't worry also if English is not your first language. I will still read it and try to see if I can kind of make it make sense along the way. And Rule 5. If you are not present for the story being read, I will not read it. 1, because if there are some words that I need some help with in pronunciation, that way I can get some immediate feedback on that, and I don't have to, it doesn't have to be delayed. And 2, so that way you can hear your story read live and come to life. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, with all of that said, hopefully everything still runs smooth and nothing kind of hiccups. So, normally I would have had some music playing in the background, but because this is also going on YouTube right now, that's not going to be the case. So, unfortunate as it is, we're actually going to do something slightly different. Let me see. Is it this one? I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yes, there it is. For the YouTube audience and for the Twitch audience, you can check out this playlist, in which I will be using, and you can listen along to any of the music that I will be listening to along the way. I'm going to be listening to the third video in that playlist, which is by Pandora Journey. It's called... of course, there's an ad coming right at the beginning, so it's kind of hard to get to. But anyways, it's called 1 Hour Pure Sadness. Yes, I know that is counterintuitive, especially when we're writing, but it's ambiance music. So if you want to listen along with me, that is what I am going to be listening to, and you're more than welcome to listen along with me. Alrighty. So I got that underway. That's good, that's good, that's good. Everything seems to be good so far. So, yeah. And there is no, like, set time for you guys to submit stuff. You can submit at any time, whenever you want. You will not interrupt me. Like I said, this whole thing is for you guys to have your stories read live on stream. So, let me get... Alright, so, for the YouTube audience, this is what I will be editing up here, and for the Twitch audience, this is what I'll be editing back there, back behind me. Just because of the way things are working out, that's kind of what we're doing. So, let's go and continue on and wait for the legends, for the stories to become legend. Actually, there is something in the background that I need to take care of. So, before we get too far into it, I need to take care of that. And for everybody who's here, how you doing so far? How's your evening going? Hopefully well. Oh, that is right, I forgot. For the Twitch audience, there is an ad break coming up, so we're going to have to do that real quick. And for the YouTube audience, it's just going to be a little... You're going to have a little bit of a screen on the front. So, sit back and enjoy the view. We shall be right back after these massages. Alrighty, so we're back into it, and we're gonna get ready for some more editing of stuff. So, like I said before, there is no particular time to actually submit something. Submit it any time, and have a ball. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, either on the Twitch, either for the Twitch audience or for the YouTube audience. Either one is perfectly fine. There we go. The cell has been imbued with time magic. Watt 16! What's up? How's it going? It moves much faster than within. How's your evening going? Oops. Helen panted. Her strength slowly draining. Yeah, over on Twitch I am. For over on YouTube is the main thing. So if you'd like to watch it wide, you can go check it over on YouTube. Like I said, I'm trying different things, seeing what's going on. Ice. How long has she been missing? Oops. She panted. Her strength slowly returning. Helen asked, held up by Jack as the effects of the cell wore off. Cygnus offered her the bottle of El Pum for a sip. Nineheart left 6 days ago to meet up with one of our shadows. Unfortunately, Usually, Nineheart won't return for at least a couple of days. She's a competent woman, and so I thought nothing of it when she returned the same day. The Empress replied. It looked like you were in there for only a couple seconds, Jack said, helping to steady Nineheart. Once he was sure Helen could stand on her own. Helen looked at the sigil and held her hand forward, studying the magic within the cell. Calculating it all out, in 6 days, she would have been in that cell for an equivalent month, Helen surmised. Color began returning to Nineheart's face. Oops. Using what strength she had recovered to hold her son close when she saw him. He's seen. Hold on. The scene. Wait, where was I? Feel happy when something sparked in Jenny's... Fell happy. No. Feel happy. There we go. I want to feel happy when something sparked in Jenny's mind. Wait, in the game, Nineheart was a guy. So why is Nineheart a woman? Eleanor could be playing us again, she called, reaching back and knocking an arrow until Cygnus held up her hand and shook her head. No, Jenny. This is and isn't Nineheart. Nineheart von Rubenstein was an excellent friend of mine, helping me enormously as my tactician after my coronation as Empress at the age of 12. Once my knights had been trained and empowered by Shinsu, we began our efforts to prevent the rise of the Black Mage in tandem with your parents before they left for the world of your birth. A knight in training under Eckhart had taken a liking to Nineheart by the name of Hadron. Hold on, that was a run-on, so let's see. Coronation as Empress at the age of 12. Once my knights had been trained and empowered, we began our efforts to prevent the rise of the Black Mage. Nah, well, no. With your parents before they left. No. Let's get rid of that. All right. A knight in training under Eckhart had taken a liking to Nineheart by the name of Hadron. A knight in training... under Eckhart by the name of Hadron had taken a liking to Nineheart. Once knighted, she began training under Nineheart for strategies in leading the platoon of trainees leading her platoon of trainees against the Black Mage. There we go, that's a little better. Once knighted, she began training under Nineheart for strategies and leading her platoon of trainees against the Black Mage. When more of her strength returned. There we go. That's better. When more of her strength returned, Hadron released Francis and held him away from her. The dim light of the dungeon revealed her young features and blue eyes that anyone at first glance would easily mistake for Nineheart. Even though I led my soldiers into battle, I found myself falling in love with Nineheart, Hadron continued, smoothing down a few strands of Francis's hair. Our son Eld was born a few months after our wedding. From the first time he could crawl, he could control anything as though it were a marionette. 10 years went by uninterrupted. But one day, Eld vanished. The knights and I searched for days, but couldn't find anything leading to his whereabouts. With the seal broken on the Black Mage, his first act was destroying Irive by raining down fire on the island. I evacuated at the request of Nineheart, who stayed behind with the chief knights and some of the more advanced knights to hold off the Black Mage's forces. The battle took many lives, including my husband, whose body was never recovered or found. The only thing recovered was his monocle. Hadron put a hand on her chest, where Olsen guessed the monocle hung around her neck like a pendant. Once Nineheart was lost. As the Empress continued. Once Nineheart was lost, Hadron took up the role of being my tactician.
Many a time I would call her by Nineheart's name by mistake. So to make things easier, she adopted the name while searching for her lost son.
Hadron then hugged Francis close as Jack appeared to be looking up, pointing his finger in different directions. Let me get this straight. Francis' real name is Eld, who is the son of Nineheart and a former knight? Is that why you wanted to come, Empress? He asked. Cygnus nodded as Francis hugged Hadron again, holding onto her waist, not wanting to let go after not seeing her for nearly 6 years.
Eld, it's okay. I'm here. You rescued me, just like I knew you would. You have the bravery of your father. He would be very proud of you.
Hadron smiled, holding her son close when a chilling bloodlust washed over all of them. Francis's eyes went wide as everyone turned to face the form standing before them. Face the form that appeared. The Black Mage himself. Questioning whispers hung in the air while the Black Mage, he squinted his eyes, holding his hand out to Hadron as if pointing at her.
You were the one who betrayed me, Mage. You said that if I worked for you, you wouldn't hurt her. And what was the first thing you did? When I didn't do as you wanted?
Francis yelled. Right. The Black Mage narrowed his eyes further as a wave of power passed over them all. Frozen with fear, no one could move as his dark... As aura emanated from his body. As an aura emanated from his body, causing them all to feel weak and heavy.
I won't go back to serve you, and you won't ever threaten my mother again,
Francis yelled as he moved to the front of the group. Holding his hand out, his threads of mana wove to the skeletons around them. The Black Mage closed his eyes and shook his head, ethereal growls emanating from him as he held up his hand as though holding an orb, while Francis's mana threads evaporated.
I am not a child! I know what you are doing is wrong,
the child shouted. In a blur, the Black Mage held out his hand, lifting The Black Mage lifted Francis.
What do you see here?
Ooh, okay. So then, we've got that. So I need to double check what I've got. Or what those are, what that all entails. Because I don't remember. All right. All right, cool. So, Watt 16, you have redeemed the Excerpt Reading Plus, and you get up to 1,200 words of your story read, along with a mini critique and some advice to go with it once it is read. So, pass along it is an untitled dark fantasy story. Okay, all right. Give me a second here. Let me get things up and running. Oops, no. I'm going to go over here. All right. All right. Let me double check my thing here just to make sure. Okay. So... All right. So, being that we don't have many submissions, this one is about 1,600 words long instead of 1,200 for that. But being that we don't have a lot of submissions tonight, or we don't have a lot of submissions tonight so far, I'll let it slide for now. Alrighty. So then, let me get this back up and running. Give me a second. Come on, don't be stubborn. Okay. And then you are going to come over here. Okay. So. Let me scoot this over a little bit. There we go for the Twitch audience. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, over on the Twitch side of things, I have a coin of the vault named Watt16 who has submitted his unnamed dark fantasy story for this. So, buckle up. Here we go. Gather all and lend a friend an ear as I regale the tale of the famed boy that was a warden by trade, but a king by name. Welcome, listener, our story begins. Welcome, listener. Our story begins within the walls of the kingdom of Eldora. The baby cries out as he is fresh from his mother's womb, embracing the world for the first time. The warm palace air caresses his cheek as the world outside is eager to meet him. The boy is the son of the second princess, Ilia, and the illustrious knight, Kaldor. Kaldor bursts through the door, teeming with glee. "My nephew has arrived! Dear heavens, brother, your boy screams a fiery cry. Does he have a name yet, Ilia?" You see, Kaldor was engaged to Ilia's sister, Elora, and in the case of drunken mistaken identity, Kaldor took Ilia to his chambers, or so we think. This act, in the eyes of people, would have diminished the knight and princess's name, so it was easier to pass the baby off as his late brother's child who perished in battle, as he would have been married to Ilia if he would have lived. The boy would be given the name Rendalis, after his great-great-grandfather, but would be known as Ren. Everyone cheered the boy's name throughout Eldora, except his grandfather, King Elric. Elric cursed the boy's name, as he was the son of the Forsaken Blight, the Blight that took his dear wife Vera. As Ilia took her first breath, Queen Vera took her last. Elora took note of her father's disdain of the child. She knew, since he was Ilia's child, that he would never be named heir or have any high-ranking position. By the age of 5, Ren would begin his training with his dear old uncle. Ren struggled with wielding a sword, but he never quit. Practicing day and night, gaining the strength to hold up his sword. He even managed to learn Kaldor's special counter that he spent years working on. Seeing promise in the boy, the frail King Elric was reminded of his deceased son Alduin. Alduin was the oldest of the king's 4 children, and was the one with the most promise. He had the trait for magic. Elric wrote a letter to an old friend to help with his grandson's training. Ren,
was to be sent to Blackrock, home to the Gale clan of Grim Wardens. The king knew with the Warden's enhanced strength, stamina, and unearthly abilities that he would grow into a fantastic warrior, fit for the front lines. Ren was awakened before dawn and was escorted to the gates. He was met by 2 wardens, a man and a girl, who was slightly older than himself. The man spoke up.
You must be Ren. I'm Grey, and this is Elest.
Elora! Laura! Have you seen Ren? It's time for his studies, Ilya belted out. With a heavy heart, Leah, my dear, Father had sent him to Blackrock before the sun rose. Kaldor wanted to tell you, but he was pulled away last minute, Elora said as she comforted her sister, as she bawled her eyes out. Once there, Ren was locked in a room and starved for 4 days. His body needed to be prepared for the trial on the 5th day. Ren was given a cup and instructed to chug the entire cup. He felt his body freeze, his heart slow to a shaky halt, and his vision slowly dispersed, or disappeared, only to be awakened by a splash of cold water.
You've passed your first trial. Now you must be chosen by a familiar. You've passed your first trial. Now you must be chosen by a familiar, a mysterious voice echoed out. As 4 doors opened in front of him, the growls and roars from the various creatures startled the poor boy, and his body began to tremble with fear. From the third stepped out a massive wolf. The wolf's majestic white fur glistened in the sunlight as it circled its new-found prey. Staying his fear, Ren slowly approached the wolf, rearing its massive fangs as he inched forward. The wolf's fangs were the size of the boy's arm. Seeing this, Ren let out a booming yell that only a 5-year-old could muster. With a sadistic grin on its face, the wolf howled in response before positioning its body to charge. The wolf repositioned itself and began to walk forward as it noticed the boy stood ready without fear for his impending doom. The wolf that towered over most men licked and laid down next to Ren. She had chosen him and was willing to become his familiar.
Cilia. Your name shall be Cilia,
Ren said cheerfully, as Cilia howled in agreement. The door swung open, and Grey stepped through.
A great wolf. Not bad, kid. From today until your graduation, you'll be my student along with Elest.
Training with Elest was brutal, as she was stronger and faster than Ren due to her bond with a wyvern. For 13 years, Ren, Elest, Cilia, and Ruby trained together tirelessly by Grey, pushing their bodies to the brink. When they weren't training, Ren and Cilia were given elixirs to enhance the body, stamina, and strength. The Warden's graduation ceremony was a combination of spirit. The graduating Warden would have to eat the heart of the familiar, entangling the souls for eternity. This process gives the Warden the ability of the familiar and slows the rate of which they age based on the familiar. Hearing this from Grey broke the boy. He would have to part ways with the only family he had at Blackrock. Tears fell as the Warden placed the plate with Celia's heart on it. Elest stood vigilantly.
Cilia will always be with you, as she is now part of you. Parting with Ruby was hard, but his flames still protect me.
Ren took a bite,
feeling his heart thump as if it might rip his chest at the speed of an arrow. The dining hall was filled with the howls of wolves, and the loudest among them was Celia, who stood in front of Ren with an ethereal glow. Now that Ren and Celia were bonded, it was time for his first hunt. A contract that the elders gave out to every graduating warden. Ren was tasked with a capture or kill mission for a group of bandits near Talius. Talius was a small kingdom that sat to the far west of the continent. Grey and Aleste were allowed to come as they were a group. For weeks the trio tracked the bandits with no luck, until one stormy night at a tavern in a small village. They'd stayed in the village for 3 days, investigating any possible leads that they would come across. As the thunder screamed across the sky, Ren laid on a bale of hay, trying to enjoy the little peace he had before journeying to another village.
Ren, get up. Balin is here at the tavern. This is your chance.
There he was, this pissant of a noble, crying and pissing his pants.
Please, sir, let me go. I can give you more gold. Nobles there are just as
stuck up as those royals, but quicker to give up the gold to the worthless nobles and royals and their gold. The bandits cheered and toasted their drinks in celebration, but were interrupted by Grey.
I don't know much about the lives of nobles and royals, but my good friend does. You see, he's a prince of Eldora, son of Talon and Princess Ilia, grandson of old King Elric.
The forgotten prince? Please, the boy has no more coin than a common beggar.
The men all laughed at Ren's situation. With a smirk on his face,
My purse is bigger than what a common beggar has, and it's more than what your mother ever made on her back, Balin.
Ren quipped. Balin stood, drawing his sword, only to be impaled by Aleste's spear. His men attacked Grey and Ren, but were no match for the pair of wardens. They cut down every man who drew on them, covering the tavern in blood. Aleste pushed Balin's bag of gold towards the barkeep.
That should cover the mess.
As she grabbed the cup of ale and gulped the rest down.
Can't let this go to waste, and now for our prize.
She took a sword off the ground and took Balin's head.
Chink!
The noise made all 3 wardens look down to see what it was. To everyone's surprise, it was a Grim Warden's medallion. The trio headed back to Blackrock to claim their reward and have the medallion investigated. After the elders gave them their pay for the bounty, Grey handed Ren a letter from his grandfather that he wrote 14 years ago.
Dear Ren, by the time you are reading this, I have since moved on from this world. I am a man of many regrets, especially when it comes to my family. I hated you and your mother out of my grief for your grandmother. Ren, you carry her smile, and that drove me to hate you even more than I did. I blamed your mother for taking her away. I, a king, blamed an infant, my own daughter, for my wife's death. You reminded me of my loss, Vera and Alduin. You're their legacy, and I hope you could forgive a feeble old man who lost hope and abandoned his family when they needed him most. Ulrich.
Ren now understood why his grandfather seemed to never care about him.
What now?
What now?
Grey questioned.
Well, I guess I'll head home to Eldora for now, Grey.
Okay. All right. Cool. Sorry, Ink and Play. I did see your message. I was kind of tied up in reading over here. Everything's going okay so far, at least I think.
as you can see, I'm experimenting a little bit, doing a kind of different setup, doing the vertical over on Twitch and the mainstream over on YouTube, but everything's okay. All right, so, Watt 16. The biggest piece of advice I can give you for this right now is when you have characters talk, you need to separate them out from the sentences. For instance, I believe I have, no, I don't. Anyways, you need to separate them out and put them like on a different line. So, for instance, right here, it needs to go on on another line, like enter twice, either once or twice. And like every time a character is talking, you need to put that character's speech on a different line. Otherwise, what happens is it gets blended into the whole thing, and it's very difficult to tell who is talking or when. That's one thing I would say. As far as the story in general, it's good. You got yourself a good setup here. It does seem to, like, you start out kind of strong. Let's see. You start out pretty strong here, but you kind of get, the rest of it kind of gets a little quick. Like, things are kind of really just blah, 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 tumbling over and over. I mean, you could probably still have some of it still happen pretty quick, but it feels a little too quick. I guess if you were to word it slightly differently, let's see. What would be a good example? Let's see. Right here. The kind of falls apart just a tad because, you know, you're talking about him training and then working on a special technique from his uncle. But then suddenly he just sent off. So maybe you could go somewhere in here. You could put in to where Elric, he's kind of give some background, a little bit more background. Well, let's see. Alduin was, let's see. He even managed to learn Kildare special. Seeing promise in the boy, the frail King Elric was. Maybe instead of just him saying writing a letter to a friend, and then he was to be sent off, maybe instead of telling what was going to happen to him, have the king maybe think about something that's going to happen. You know, he does not want to be reminded of his late beloved or something like that, and he needs a way of getting rid of him. So he gets the idea to write the letter to a friend who will help him get rid of his son. Also here, again, this goes back to what I was talking about, where you have Ren meeting Gray and Elest. Okay, all right, cool, still going on. But then you jump right into like later that morning. So it's like, wait, what's going on here? So right here, you could probably use a little more explaining to maybe get into Ren's head. You know, what is he thinking at this? You know, it's early in the morning. He's at this point, he's probably like a 10-year-old. I think he says 5. Oh, he's only like 5 or 6 or something like that at this point. So get into his head. What is he thinking? Oh my, it's early in the morning. He's tired. He doesn't want to go. It's cold. You know, kind of give something like that, and maybe have Gray be like the reluctant guardian that, you know, it's just a kid, but he has to follow orders to take Ren away. So maybe kind of give a little bit more on that front. And, I mean, it's for the most part, it's pretty good. I'll give it that. But like I said, the only thing that would really, really, really help it out is if you were to, anytime somebody's talking, if you were to put it on a different line. Because, like, for instance, here, like, again, just as an example, with, oops, nope, not on that. As with this story, as with mine here, just kind of as an example. I'm not saying I'm better. It's just this makes it, helps it out to be a little bit easier to read. See, we got a character up here is talking. Then we did some narration, and then the very next, like, we want a character to talk, but we put it on a different line. It separates it out, so you know, okay, talking. Because if you were to have it like this, it gets lost very quickly. Whereas if you do this, okay, it makes it a little easier to see. That would be my biggest piece of advice for it. But other than that, yeah, you had a strong start. It kind of starts to taper off a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So I hope to see more of it. And Losalor, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? All right. So, you're very welcome, 16. Oops. This is what I wanted to do. There we go. New version of mobile where it's under the screen. With EU chat becomes chaos like this. Creative, yeah. All right. Yeah, sure. You know what? Before we get too much further, there is something I need to read because I was asked to read it and I forgot about it last week, so I need to make sure that I do it before we get too much further. It was a submission by Jinx. I can probably imagine. Like I said, it was a submission by Jinx. So we shall check that out as soon as I can find where. Didn't want to blast your eardrums out there. I was getting ready for a good sneeze. All right. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So I'm pretty sure it was this one. Let me double check really quick. Nope. Nope, nope. Here we are. Okay. All right, so I'm pretty sure this was it. But we shall see. So, for those of you who are curious, this is was a submission by Jinx, who is a Coin of the Vault, and this is on this is her Sly Cooper fan fiction called The Magic Hunter. Her name on fanfiction.net is Pixie010. Her story, The Magic Hunter. And she did ask me to read the latest part, which I completely forgot about it last time, so I think this is it. So, we shall check this out while we are here. So, Jinx, if you happen to read this, or watch this, here we go. It was rough. One of those days where Brain Spice hates everything, but that just means I get to try again tomorrow. Yep, that's true, Lucilor. All right. So, Magic Hunter, Chapter 10, Part 1. The sun woke Julia and saw that she was in her bedroom. How did I get here? She thought, while looking around. Julia saw the door, which she always kept open, but seeing it closed now makes her nervous. But something told her to open the door. Julia opened the door carefully, getting ready to close that, but seeing the familiar living room and hearing conversation from the kitchen made her slightly curious. We should go somewhere today. It's such nice weather. Julia heard a woman's voice. Sounds good. Maybe we should go eat somewhere. A man answered her. Julia walked closer, leaning to the wall at the same time. She peeked behind the door frame and saw two people sitting on the small dining table. At the small dining table. The man saw Julia looking at them and gave her a smile. Morning, Sleeping Beauty. You broke your record. Julia couldn't move. She even didn't want to blink, only kept her eyes on that man. Her father. Dad? She asked and came behind her hide. Came out of her hiding spot. Yes, it's me. Are you still asleep? Julia's father chuckled warmly. I think so. She is. I think she is, a woman said, but her voice wasn't accusing. Because this young lady came home late last night. Since it's vacation, I'll forgive you. Julia looked at the woman, whose arm leaned over the chair. A huff let out of Julia's lungs, while her mother smiled at her beautiful smile. Mom, is that really you? Julia asked and walked closer to her with blurred vision, and soon noticed that she already hugged her mother, while hiding her face in her mother's long skirt. Julia had only seen her parents in a wedding video and pictures. It felt unreal. So unreal. Sweetie, what's wrong? Julia's mother asked worriedly, while petting her head. Everything's wrong, Julia said and let out everything out of her heart. There's this Bethany who hurt Kit and Kate, and then she hypnotized Kit. I don't know how she did it, not to mention that he hates me. Who hates you? I guess your son. Julia raised her voice and head, but lowered them back. He said that life could be easy without me. Julia said and started to cry, seeing those past few days again in her mind. Julia heard how her mother sighed, and then held her cheeks, looking to her eyes. Now, my dear child, sit down and tell everything again for your mummy. Julia dried her tears and sat on the other side of the desk, when she noticed there were only the two of them. Mom, where's Dad? He left. She got an answer, which sounded different, and there was now an English accent. The kitchen turned dark, and Julia looked outside, which was now pitch black. Mom, what happened to the sun? What do you mean? Julia heard a question, which wasn't any more than a soft and warm voice. It was now the opposite. Julia looked slowly back, and her mouth opened, but her words were gone. The place where her mother sat earlier was now Bethany, who gave her an innocent but cold smile. It's rude to stare and keep a mouth open, Bethany said, while sitting elegantly on the chair. Your mummy probably forgot to teach you that before abandoning you. Bethany's voice sounded like it was mocking to Julia. She felt how her hands turned to fists while they trembled. You're wrong. They wanted me, Julia tried to say courageously. But couldn't look Bethany in the eyes, so she looked around at the place. The floor was shiny black and the walls had disappeared. There was only darkness, candles giving them light. Are you sure? Because you told me about your brother who can't handle you. Shut up! Julia raised her voice and stood up. Stood up so fast that a chair fell behind her. Julia hasn't felt like this for a long time. Her heartbeat was fast, but now it wasn't about fear. I see. So your weakness is family. Cliché, Bethany said, while leaning on the table and putting her fingers under her chin. Julia was sure that there was a melancholiness in Bethany's voice, even though her face was difficult to read. You know what? I could help you to handle your brother. Never! I would never hurt anyone in my life, Julia said, and started to feel her magic coming into her hands. Then you may say farewell to Kit and to Archie. Everything slid away when Bethany had said those words. Julia started to remember what had happened to Kit, but hearing that Archie was missing gave her mixed feelings of sadness and shock. It was you? Julia asked, while focusing on her breathing and balance. Julia took her necklace in her hands when suddenly Bethany stood up and raised her hand. Give it to me. Now! She commanded. Before Julia noticed, Bethany tried to open Julia's hands. Julia kept her eyes tightly closed so she wouldn't face Bethany's eyes. Let go of me! You might get hurt! Julia shouted. No one can hurt me! Bethany shouted back and whispered into Julia's ear. And you may thank your bestie for that. Julia's eyes opened and felt how her hands started to open. Miss, get behind me, they heard, and a white dagger flashed near them. Someone came between them, where Bethany backed up and saw a man taking a dagger from the floor to his left hand. Stay behind me, a man told Julia, when she feeling as a strong sense of déjà vu all of a sudden. Julia tried to remember where she had met him, but nothing came to mind. Well, look who's here, Bethany said, looking at the man's green eyes. Papa came to rescue his daughter's friend. Julia gasped and looked at the man better, who had short brown hair and light color in skin darker than her own. William readies himself, pulling a white dagger point to the floor, while taking a black dagger in his other hand, pointing to Bethany. Flint and Silene's daughter. You have broken many magical rules in your life. You'll come with me to face your consequence, William commanded, where Bethany showed fear for the first time, but it disappeared behind her smirk. And what if I refuse? She asked, and made a fire in her hand. Julia looked afraid back and looked at William, readying his daggers. Run! William shouted to Julia suddenly. Julia ran to her room, slamming the door behind her. She stayed there for a while, before putting the bed in front of the door, hoping that it would slow down Bethany, if she tried to come in. What now? She thought, looking at her room with startled fear when she saw that the floor started to disappear like slabs. Julia was going to pull the bed away, but then she saw the door had disappeared. No! Julia slammed the wall, and panic began to rise, seeing how the desk fell into the darkness. This way! An echoing female voice said. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Julia looked behind her and saw a white smoky line, which flew near the closet doors. He left a portal open. Julia looked again at the floor and saw that she was 3 slabs away from darkness. Hurry! Julia ran closer to the closet, hand raised to open the doorknob, feeling how the slabs were disappearing behind her. Julia felt the wood on her hand and opened the closet doors, where a familiar white portal waited and closed behind her. Okay, all right, cool. So again, that was Chapter 10, Part 1 of The Magic Hunter by Pixie010. She is a coin of the vault. I believe her name is Jinx on Twitch. So if you guys want to check out the entire story, you can check it out here. Here it is in the Twitch chat, and then here it is in the YouTube chat. You can check it out check it out any way you want and read through it. Wait, hold on. I want to go here.
Supernova! Nice!
Creative one, you got third. I don't think anyone's picked second yet. At least I don't think they have. Nope. There we go. Ink and Play got second. Yay! First, second, and third. Yay! Oh, and Loris and Lore got fourth. Yay! All right, cool. All right, so let me actually redo the link for Pixie's or Jinx's story here. This is actually the proper one because the one I gave you before is a little is the wrong one. So, all right, let's get a big stretch going. Thank you, Ink and Play, for the stretch reminder. Ooh, ooh. That one felt a bit tight on the side of my chest there. Alrighty. So, cool. We've had one submission for the evening. Oh no, it's not like that bad. It's just like the stretch that I was doing was a little intense, so I could feel it like on the side of my chest a little bit. Ah, okay. Oddly enough, when I actually the other day, I can't remember where I went. I think I went to like In-N-Out Burger or something like that. And the particular burger that I was eating, I think I was having a 3x3. And it was kind of big, so I was trying to open my mouth enough to get my teeth around it. And the funny part was, I actually pulled my tongue. I kid you not. I pulled my tongue. It was quite the experience. I'll tell you that. I didn't pull my jaw. I didn't pull anything. I pulled my tongue. If you can believe that. I pulled my tongue. Yes, it's possible. I have found that out. I pulled my tongue. Oh boy. Yeah, I can imagine. That's the kind of conversation you don't want to have. Yeah, I tried to stand up and I pulled my butt. Gluteus Maximus becomes Gluteus Scrunchius. Yes, In-N-Out is a burger place. For the most part, at least here in the U.S., for international audience or for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, In-N-Out is a West Coast, United States West Coast restaurant chain that usually kind of hangs around either Southern California or Nevada, kind of the western United States. There's been a few others that I've seen or heard of that go further east United States, but for the most part, they're usually on the West Coast. And all they do is they have, like, if you go in there, they have a menu with 3 items. They have the double double, which is like a stacked burger. It's like basically like a Big Mac from McDonald's, but a little bit bigger and a little bit tastier. They have the cheeseburger, which is just a regular burger with 1 and 1, and then they have the hamburger, which is just doesn't have cheese. All of them come with fries that are quite literally an entire potato that you can actually watch him in the back. They got one dude who's usually pretty buff. They peel the potatoes and they stick him in this like masher thing that has a big grate on him. He gets up on it and all you hear is shakunk, boink, shakunk, shakunk. Okay, so yeah, In-N-Out is kind of like Whataburger. I hear they're pretty close. But yeah, you take the entire potato, then you stick it in the fryer, and then you put them in this like little crate looking thing, basket, like little cardboard box looking thing. Basically, it's an entire potato and a drink. And I kid you not, for the last, I don't know, since like the 60s, I think. Let me see. Now I gotta look this up. Oh, wow, it's even older than that. Okay, so it's been around since 1948 here in the US. So they've, at least as far as I've known, they've sold those same 3 items on their menu since the 50s. But rumor is there is what's called a secret menu. You can look this up. That you can, like, you ask for it like a specific way, or like your burger a specific way, and they'll put like extra stuff on it. The best way, animal style. You'll love it. But yeah, you can look them up. Just like, it's In-N-Out Burger secret menu, and there's like tons of things you can do to it. But we do have an ad break coming up, so we shall be right back after these massages. So don't go anywhere. All right. And we are back to doing some more editing while waiting for submissions. And like I said, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you feel free to put in the command !reading, and it will let me know that you have something you want me to read. And then, yay! Just as I'm getting off, too. All right. Oh, come on. I'm gonna lurk while I get ready for bed. All right, Losi, thanks for coming. And until you go to bed, may Falcor visit you in your dreams. West Coast, do you guys have a Kroger? I've heard of it, and I think there is one nearby somewhere where I live, but I haven't been to one myself. Forming itself into a spear. Into a buzzing spear. As the Black Mage grabbed hold of it. Don't you dare. Pleasant pillow. Pleasant pillow. Don't you dare, growled Jenny, drawing a spine arrow that hummed with green light, holding the point aimed for the Black Mage, as her hair's color intensified. The Black Mage's attention snapped to her, making Jenny lose most of her nerve. Fighting to keep the arrow drawn. He dared to King Akil's dare.
He dared to kill a king's deer.
Sarcastic whispers hung around her until Jenny pulled the sinew tighter and bore her teeth. The Black Mage's eyes smiled, holding his arms open as his whispers rose in volume to a mass of incomparable voices before appearing. Jenny still couldn't find the nerve to loose her arrow when he appeared before Cygnus, reaching out to her jaw. Like I said, I'm just experimenting right now, seeing how it works, if it works better one way or the other. It kind of seems like the Twitch audience has kind of stalled out. I'm not really growing much on Twitch right now, so I'm just experimenting, seeing what's happened, what works, what doesn't. fire her arrow. Eleanor appeared in the doorway of the dungeon, announcing her presence with an authoritative tone, dressed in black rather than her usual violet clothes. He is right in laughing at your actions. You are all the same. You are all the same. You never stop to think about the actions you are taking. Someone comes along whose radical ideals require all to be wiped, require all to be swept away to start again. To require sweeping everything away to start again. Yeah, it's probably supposed to be excerpt, but I think I just, when I did it, I probably did it hastily, and I didn't double check it. But yeah, it's supposed to be excerpt. Someone comes along whose radical ideals require sweeping everything away to start again, which means killing thousands of people. And yet you call yourself righteous in protecting. Yet you call yourself righteous in protecting those thousands of lives who are willing to end the life of one person. Okay, there we go. Yet you call yourself righteous in protecting those thousands of lives by ending the life of one person. Doesn't it amount to the same thing? She asked, shifting her weight to one leg while putting a hand on her hip. Olsen drew his dagger and faced Eleanor, standing beside Jenny. You're wrong. We stand for those who are unable to protect themselves, who need someone to stand between them and the evils you cultivate, Olsen growled back. The black mage threw his head back in laughter, sounding more like roaring flames, nearly losing his balance because of hysteria. All at once, the black mage stopped, pointing to them as growls and hisses came from him, turning his hand up while black magic seeped from his body. Jenny slowly released her draw as his words hit her. She was willing to kill? Helen spoke up when she saw Jenny losing her resolve. No, we will defeat you, and not because we have more power, but because the darkest parts of your heart have consumed you. If killing you is the only way to stop you, when reason and pleading from the very one you loved it no longer works... Helen drew a large, flaming, sacred arrow and held it at the ready. Aimed for the heart of the black mage. Then so be it. Jenny stared at Helen, and then to Olsen, and then at Olsen beside her. Both of them are willing to kill so readily. How could they justify it? The black mage's eyes brightened in anger at the mention, or even a hint of his past betrayal of Minerva. In a blur, he hurled his spear at Hadron. Matthew stepped into the path of the spear spear and held out his cloak, but watched in horror as the spear passed through the fabric. Helen dispelled her arrow and raised her cloak to block the spear, but again failed as the spear passed through it. Helen reached out her hand to grab it. To grab the spear out of the air. Hadron shut her eyes and put up her hands in reflex. When the sickening sound of a weapon piercing flesh flesh echoed through the room, blood splashing onto her face. Hadron opened her eyes, only to be struck in shock as the spear sailed past her eyes in the chest of her son's chest, landing on the spear sailed past her eyes in her son's chest, landing on the ground in a bloody heap. "Ald!" she screamed, running to Francis' side, cradling him in her arms as Francis gasped and heaved through the blood running thick in his lungs when the spear dissipated. Helen ran to him and began using her healing spell, but it wasn't working fast enough to close the wound. "Eld, listen, you need to stay with me, all right? You're going to be all right." Oops. "Helen's here, and she's..." Francis placed a hand on Helen's and pulled it away from the gaping wound in his chest. "It's all right. You're not hurt, are you, Mother?" Francis asked weakly. Hadron shook her head as tears flowed down her cheeks. She reached for Helen's hands to start healing him again, but Francis pushed them away. "I've done a lot of bad things. Too many. So I don't deserve to live. But at least I could protect you, Okay, so that's just stupid. Let's see. Helen tried to apply more power, reaching for her amethyst crystal power. And even that wasn't enough. The residual black magic was blocking her attempts, and she still too inexperienced to dispel it. Francis reached up to Hadron's face and smiled weakly. Shook her head. Okay. Helen began digging even deeper, wielding more power into the spell. But it wasn't enough, as the black magic ate away the boy's life. Until there was nothing left. All right. Hadrian's tears stung her eyes as she brushed aside his hair, hugging his body close, ignoring the blood staining her dress. The rest all bowed their heads as this young boy, whose only wish was to protect his... bowed their heads to this young boy, whose only wish was to protect his mother. The black mage chuckled and shook his head as cold, emotionless whispers left him. Or as a cold, emotionless whisper left him. Jenny's resolve boiled. She could no longer stand his sickening voice. She drew her spine arrow again, aimed for the black mage while Eleanor spoke for him. Save your anger, guardian archer. You needn't waste it on such a meaningless loss. You'll need that for the coming... Jenny blocked out her words as something within her snapped. Her hair lost all its reddish-brown color, becoming completely green while a hazy emerald green... I can't talk all of a sudden. Becoming completely green while a hazy emerald flame ignited around her body. Her eyes glowed with fearful green light as she gripped her bow until her hand hurt. He died protecting the very thing he loved, and yet you call that a meaningless loss? She shrieked. A forest green haze gathered into the shape of an arrow, sounds of electricity snapping around it. The bow transformed into a tribal design while wind collected around the arrow's shaft. The already humming arrow began to howl as if it were a hurricane. The black mage readied to erect a protection spell, but before he could summon it, his arm exploded and disappeared. He looked back at Jenny. The light in her eyes became livid as the radiating power of the emerald crystal blew her hair up. The black mage's arm quickly regenerated as he gathered a sphere in each hand, hurling both orbs together and launched a beam of dark light at her. Jenny drew her bow and loosed arrows until a stream of them slowed the beam. But the beam's power was more than Jenny's arrows could hold back, quickly overpowering them and consuming her in darkness. She vaguely felt herself carried in someone's arms, hearing the sounds of stones falling all around her. When she finally came to, she found herself in the hold of the ticket ship with Olsen at her side. "What happened?" she asked, sitting up and then holding her side as a shot of pain hit her. "Matthew and Eckhart escorted everyone out while Helen and I stayed behind to help you, if we could. The black mage overpowered your arrows, but the collapse of your power ended in an explosion. Helen and I managed to get you in time before the explosion hit. I wrapped you and her in my cloak so that she could teleport us to the ship. The castle collapsed soon after." "What if Hadrian and Eld?" Jenny asked. Olsen tilted his head over to the side, where Hadrian sat next to the cold and stiff body of Eld, tears still falling down her face when Cygnus walked to them. "I thought Matthew's or Helen's cloak would have blocked that spear," Jenny said, flinching slightly when the stab of pain in her side pulsed. Cygnus set a hand on Jenny's shoulder. Matthew and Helen were just as shocked that their cloaks didn't work. Perhaps once we return to Herbtown, Aran may have an answer, she said gently, walking to Hadron and sitting next to her. Eld was a courageous young man. I'm so very sorry for your loss, Hadron, Cygnus expressed softly. Hadron looked up to Cygnus and collapsed into her lap, letting the tears flow in her grief. Talking amongst themselves, the five resolved to stay in Mulung for a few days to train under the knights and hopefully prevent the loss of any more life. The black mage flexed his right hand, trying to get the sore feeling out of it from being regenerated. The archer was mighty, even at this early stage of her training. "Are you all right, master?" Eleanor asked as she brought him a glass of potion she had made while resting her head on his shoulder. Black Mage said nothing, sipping on the tonic when Eleanor continued. "The guardian archer appears to have her crystal power awakened by emotion. She may still be an amateur, but she has far more power now that she has fully awakened the emerald crystal within her. She has also been learning from Irina, the wind archer of Cygnus and Shinsu. Shall I go make sure that those kids remain on the path you have set for them?" she asked, when the black mage shook his head, whispers surrounding them as he held up his hand, turning to her as the whispers became questioning. "My wyverns haven't found anything on the remaining 3 husks. The husk we did find, however, was buried deep within the mine of the dead, very near to the heart of Zakum's sealed chambers." The black mage seemed to think for a while. Was there a pattern to the whereabouts of the next husk? Flipping his wrist, the dark crystal appeared between his fingers. "I found that crystal within the base of Minerva's statue," Eleanor explained, when the black mage clenched his hand, making the crystal disappear in a cloud of vapors, pointing to part of Osiria on a map. "I will have my wyverns search the area around Horntail's cave in the morning," Eleanor said, when a growl came from the door leading into the black mage's chamber.
"I may be able to offer some insight on the area,"
Horntail said as one of his heads slithered through the door.
"Near the top of the Cave of Life, I have noticed something reflecting the sun from time to time. It might be worth a look."
The black mage nodded, and Horntail pulled his head from the room. "Do you think that could be it?" Eleanor asked. The black mage only looked at her, raising his head and looking out the large window of his chamber, sipping on the potion again. Eleanor nodded as she stood and gazed at the black mage for a moment before leaving, swinging her hips sensually as she usually did. The black mage only looked at his hand while the words the guardian mage said echoed in his mind. If killing you is the only way to stop you, when reason and pleading from the very one you love no longer works, then so be it. The black mage snorted as he dropped his hand and sipped on the potion, clenching his fist once more to relieve the soreness.
Okie dokie, cool. So, that is that.
So now... Okay, get rid of that. Okay. Okay. Oops. Okay. So I'm just kind of wrapping up the final editing here before I post it. Okay, get rid of that. Okay. 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 Ah. There we go. Okay.
Wait, no. Oops. Okay. Okay. Okay, whatever. Oh, okay. Be warmer than a biscuit in the oven. There we go. That's better. All right. I shall get myself a drink. Ink and play. Oh, okay. Big stretch. Everybody get up and do a big stretch. All right. Ink and play with a personal shout out. Be sure and go check her out over Ink and Play. Give her a follow. Become a follower of her. I don't know what she calls her followers, but be a follower of her and be sure to tell her that I told you to go over and become one. All right, Suonova. It's all good, Ink and Play. Goodbye, Suonova. And may Falcor visit you in your dreams. All right. Okay. All right.
Where is it? Oh, no. Ink and Play over here just redeemed a bunch of stuff over here, so I was just fulfilling said rewards. It's all good. It's all good. I knew you said, you said earlier you were getting ready for bed, so I thought you were leaving. Not quite ending the stream. Got a few more minutes. All right, cool. Nice. She watched her. She. Eyes in horror. Son. Sail past her with the spear in his chest. There we go. All right. Cool. And that is where we are going to call it for the evening. I'm finally done. I got this all done, so I will have it up on Inkit and Wattpad soon. But that is where we are going to call it for the evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope you were at least mildly entertained by what you saw here today. And be sure to come back on Sunday at 10:30 a.m., where we are going to be going through the arc storyline of MapleStory. We recently finished up the Moshuan storyline, so we are going to be, by popular vote, going to be going through the arc storyline in MapleStory. And that's happening at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then on Wednesday, come back for another writing stream where we are going to be working on more of MapleStory, the novel Legends of Osiria. This is the current book that I'm working on fanfiction.net. Kind of like the latest book of anything, so be sure and come here for that. And then next week, we shall probably move back to what we had before, where the main stream is on Twitch and then the secondary is on YouTube, where we shall open up the stream again to more for you guys to have your stories read live on stream. So, yeah. And all in all, I hope to see you there. And hopefully my computer will still hold out for now, because like I said at the start of the stream, my computer's been acting a little weird, so we shall see. But, yeah, I hope to see you there.
There's a feeling deep inside. Let it be your prayer. Show me the power you can hide.
Thanks everyone for coming to the stream, and I hope to see you again next time.
If you want to catch whenever I go live, subscribe or follow to become a Coin of the Vault so you never miss a thing. Wherever you're viewing from, have a look around my YouTube channel for more stuff, including the audiobooks of MapleStory the novel Sacred Tears, Sly Cooper Rise of Vexen, and Arcane. Each story is fully voice acted with sound effects and background music so that you can sit down and watch or listen to while you go about your day. You can also find all kinds of previous storylines from MapleStory that I've already done. So, until next time, my friends.
Never be afraid to fall. Throw yourself into it. Victory's waiting for you. Go fight, show your energy. Don't slow down, no time to waste. Nothing's stopping you now. It's gonna be your day. Hopes and wishes never fade. Fight to make them stronger. Nothing will take them from you. Go fight, show your energy. There's a feeling deep inside. Let it